I've been going through a Baron Baptiste 40 Days to Personal Revolution yoga course, and that's a lot more, I guess, faster paced movement and changing poses. And it's just an interesting, I guess, perspective. Whereas, and so I haven't been focusing on slower movements as much, but I was just wondering, in your experience, have you ebbed and flowed between more intensive, faster movement practices, such as a power vinyasa yoga versus the slower tai chis and qigongs? Has there been an ebb and flow in your experience with that, and kind of depending on, I guess, your energy or the state of your body in your journey?
That's a good question. Yes, yeah, like I sort of see it as, first of all, I like to not put too much rigidity around any one way of moving. So say, for example, as I was exploring Tai Chi, I started to ask, why do we explore movement slowly? Why do we do a lot of stillness? And I started to at least discern for myself, and then I realized that there's a principle at play. Is as we slow things down, we have an opportunity to have more awareness of what's happening. It doesn't mean that slowness is the only way. Like if you look at an art like Tai Chi, from my sort of minor exposures to that, I've been shared that actually translates to Grand Ultimate Fist, right? Where any part of the body has a weapon-like quality. And from what I've continued to observe in my own body is, as I have gotten better at relaxing the body in deeper postures and situations, the body has become a lot more spring-like. So I can load the body up and then release it quickly and powerfully, which they would often refer to as Fa-Jin, so like the elicitation of force, right? So there, I look at that moving slowly is the proving ground to start to build the capacity for speed and rhythm. So say, for example, you know, like you were saying in like your power vinyasa flows and that sort of thing, it's sort of like, it's from my observations, it's kind of moving from one posture to the next in a powerful way. And that will stir up your nervous system, and it will cultivate your mind in a certain way. So that's like a beautiful intent that's there, right? But then you might notice maybe there's some movements that it's like, if I keep doing it fast, I get stuck in how I can progress that movement. Because what happens when we move faster is we bring all of the habits that we've got there and we utilize them, right? We utilize that space that we've already got, right? What we're looking to do here when we slow things down is cultivating greater space, more options, but not putting it in a box of, I just have to do it slow, just using it as a tool. So then you go back into that posture, that movement, you slow it down, and then you can gradually piece it together to take it to its full capacity. Because otherwise, if we move slow forever, you know, it's like you can move slow, say you want to improve your running or whatever it is, eventually you got to run, you know. So like, we use that slowness as a tool of awareness. We use stillness as a tool of awareness, become aware of any habits, become aware of any blockages to that movement, like the handbrake on the movement, with the intent over time to gradually speed it up. So then these new ways of moving, these greater options that we've formed, then can be utilized without thinking about it. And that's a big difference, is to be able to continue to go into movements and move in ways that are supportive to us, where we don't have to be always analyzing and doing cues of like, keep my ribs down, keep my core tight, you know, all this stuff. Like, these cues are there for people who are not in good like levels of robustness. Once your body gets more robust, you throw all the cues out the window because you just adapt to what's in the moment. I encourage all types of movements. And what I like to focus on is principles that we can utilize to improve any movement that we choose. So here we're just looking at using the principle of slowness and stillness as a tool of awareness to then gradually increase the smoothness, which leads to speediness, right? So then we can work in that full spectrum. It's kind of like, when you're learning guitar. So like, I'll comment on my own ability, but like, I've gotten a little better over time, but I can still improve a lot. And what I need to actually do to improve is to come back to my basics, like do my scales, get the notes like clean and crisp. Because if I just try and do the scales like, and I'm getting shitty notes, that's the way I'm going to do it. But if I slow it down and just get clean notes and gradually build it up, well, then I'll do that faster movement, and it's got that clean, crisp quality that I'm looking to develop. So like, all in all, I look at what is the quality in which we perform a movement with, because it's not about the movement, it's about the underlying quality behind the movement. And this is where it's very important to not look at how anyone else moves, and to not just kind of what you see on the surface and then think that we know. If someone's masterful, you might be seeing different masters in your vinyasa teaching and that sort of thing, and part of your mind might be like, I want to move like that. yeah And sorry, I muted you, Lucas.
No, I was just saying, like, yeah, exactly that. Oh, I don't do it like that, and yeah, just that comparison, that judgment.
Totally. Yeah. So it's useful for us to look at, well, why does that happen? How does that happen? How does that person perform that posture, that movement in that way? And often what we find is that, or at least I find, is that person has spent countless hours on like basics that are so mundane. Most people get bored, like really looking at things. So then that inside, underneath the skin, there is so many layers of complexity that have been built up, and then they just do this thing without even thinking about it. And you're like, whoa, how the hell did you do that? And they're like, oh, I just did it. But they just did it because they've gone through this process of integration from kind of being shit at something, potentially, and everyone has their own natural gifts. And that's another topic, perhaps, about not just naturally doing what you're good at, but finding areas of challenge and being open to leaning into it and being okay with being the beginner, slowing things down, coming back, eat your humble pie, and then gradually build it up. Because that's how, mastery is a sliding term, but that, continual improvement and growth toward that path of mastery that we may never reach, but we got a lot further than if we didn't even get on the path.